Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Street Smart Sarge here, and I'm back with another Virginia's Gangster Files on the #1 channel, Greedy Tycoon Media Group. Yeah, today's gangster is going to be about Sam, Benjamin Kelly, um, Robert Gillens, and Paul Ebanks. Now these gangsters were all in a syndicate together, because I say a syndicate because they were getting money over $500 million, and they run on the time for they run. So they was making like $100 million every year from 1989 to 1994. Good money. The story starts in 1989. The gang originated from New York City. So it's the most getting money gang out of Virginia. And it's not related to the Crips or the Bloods. You see what I'm saying? So pay attention. Pop was a high schooler who wanted to get money. Big money. So he came down to Virginia. Took trips to Virginia to make more profit. Now, Pop wasn't working alone. He would bring, his childhood friends. Robert Gillens was one of them. They would travel back and forth over the year 1989 to Virginia, and they would bring more friends back and forth. And they got pulled over once while making the trip to Virginia, or coming from Virginia. A state trooper pulled them over, and the money that they found raised a red flag to the DEA agent officer in Norfolk. Now he started building a case from that day on Gillens and Paul Ebanks, which is called Pop. James Jeffrey led the case. To stay ahead of the law, they transported drugs in false bottom coffee cans until they needed more places to hide money, guns, so they hired a company called Audio Intellect. They built secret compartments in their cars. Everything was growing from the loads for more cocaine, guns, and money. They needed more cars. The syndicate grew. You can call it a gang if you still want to, but the syndicate grew over time, from New York to Virginia, which was the primary Hampton Roads, and like I said, 93 Richmond. They also had other outlets, Washington D.C., where they got into it. They believe they called a murder or a beef up there. Then you had Baltimore, Maryland, where they also controlled and supplied in that area also. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was in Philly, where they also, had ties in there, making money distribution. Ohio is another place where they would deliver to also, where they also got their shipments for, got their shipments off for cocaine and guns. Charlotte, North Carolina, was also another outlet. I told you these guys was getting money, man. They was making $100 million a year. You got South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, where there's also making money there too. And the DA estimate, like I said, the estimate street value from DEA from 1989 to 1994, the cocaine generated retail street sales $500,000 per week. That's just the cocaine. So it was 1993 when Samuel Kelly had merged with the Syndicate, and his operation in Richmond was big enough for him to be labeled as the third party. He was making much money, and when he linked up with the Syndicate, he made even more money. Sarah Kelly didn't know that his brother-in-law Robert Gillens and Paul Ebanks were going to cooperate with the police. So when everything hit the fan in 1994, Robert Gillens was already, I believe, locked up, and Kelly and Ebanks was on the run. So they locked Gillens up. Gillens would eventually cooperate with the police. When they locked Paul Ebanks up, he cooperated with the police and testified on how things work through the syndicate. Like who made the moves at this place and in this area. He gave them all the information on everything, guns, everything. Yeah, Ebanks was wild. He told on Sam Kelly, John Austin Edwards, Jeffrey Mallard, Mel Ford, Anthony Merrick, Morris Eugene Hayes. He, testified in court on what were their actual positions in the syndicate, and got time off for giving up that information, and that information got them a lot of time. Sam Kelly and his other co-defendants were found guilty of conspiracy to distribute crack cocaine and cocaine, operating a continuing criminal enterprise, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and Sam was found not guilty with intent to distribute 2 kilos of crack cocaine, but the others were. There were 20 names listed on the indictment. Some of the names I might have already said. James Austin Edmonds, Terrence Gerald James, Alfred Cleveland, Anthony Moore, David Henry, Jeffrey Mallard, Cleveland Anderson, Maurice Lloyd Gray, Robert Andre Wilmot, Bernard King, Annette Gillings Kelly, James Cousin, Anthony Renard Wynn, Anthony Merck, Morris Eugene Hayes, Dalphie, Elizabeth Hayes. All those names were listed on the indictment, even and with Samuel Benjamin Kelly, along with Kelly, Gillens, and Ebanks. Terrence Gerald James allegedly murdered Newport News resident Gregory Woodward in retaliation for the murder of one of the gang's enforcers. Now, the syndicate had, Sterlings, BMWs, Acura's, Lexuses, and other high-priced cars. 2 men were murdered in Philly when a Lexus was set on fire, owned by one of the Syndicate leaders. One of the murders was mistaken identity. They thought he was the guy that set the Lexus on fire. So that was another murder that they had, a couple of murders that they had against them. The top guys would send money to deposit into 2 New York City business accounts. Bugmaster Termite was one, and Pet Control Inc. was another. They also used to use New Look Auto Services, and those were all businesses that they used to launder money through. The businesses were legit, but they just weren't really functioning. They cooked the books on those, so that was when they got the money laundering from. But the government doesn't stop. They turned them. There was like 90 individuals that were witnesses against the 9 that went to court. The 9 that actually went to court. Sam Kelly. It was like 90 witnesses that testified against the family, well, acquaintances, whoever. They was close, is what I'm saying. And close, you keep your enemies close, is what they say. And it sure enough, they came right on in the court and testified against them. Some people were people that were right beside doing the same thing with each other. But I'd like to thank you again for tapping in. This is Street Smart Sarge. I'm on Greedy Tycoon Media, the #1 hip hop media channel, straight out of Hampton Roads, Virginia. Holla!